Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty big news to go and talk about. This is also in regards to just really big PlayStation 5 news, and as well just kind of some of the biggest news that I have to go and see. This is also in regards to the future of even brand new events that are now being somewhat leaked on out, more release dates and everything else, and this also ties into two of the biggest, probably most anticipated games coming out in the very near future. So let's go talk about this, because we've been seeing a lot of leaks, a lot of information already that we've kind of actually covered up on the channel itself. And sometimes it's kind of fun to go hear this news because, well, what's the point of having a console? What's the point of playing on a console? And what's the point of living if we don't have any of these cool games to go play in the near future? So a lot of stuff to go talk about, a lot of good stuff as well, at least in my opinion, to go and talk about. And as well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch room down below, the Webull and Coinbase down below, the Xbox links down below, Amazon links for the PS5 down below, a bunch of stuff all down below, and let's go and dive in the video itself. So, as you guys may or not have heard / seen, we did have a state of play this month that already did not include one of the biggest games out there, God of War, but as well, Final Fantasy VII Remaster / Remake. And of course, as well, we did go and see some Final Fantasy 16 news, which, don't get me wrong, is phenomenal, is fantastic, and I'm very excited for that game. But I think, you guys always give your thoughts and opinions down below. I'm a little bit more intrigued and a little bit more hyped up for the remake itself, but that's just me. So we have two major big things to go talk about. So number one, I want to go talk about this from Jason Schreier and Tom Henderson, who have been talking about this a little bit as well. So we have this first initial response, which we'll dive into in a second. Despite widespread rumors, Sony's God of War Ragnarok was not delayed to 2023, according to people familiar with the project. Video game development is turbulent, and the game could very well slip again, but as of this week, so as of 5 hours ago as well, and everything we've seen throughout this past week, it's planned still for November, which we'll go and dive into the Bloomberg article in a second. But as well, we also had Tom himself go and time on in saying God of War announcement later this month, quote unquote, in terms of like expected leaks or potential leaks and all of that. This is consistent with some other important announcements from Sony during the last week of this month. So there's possibly a state of play inbound. Hoping to get these details soon too as well. On top of that, they also did a little bit of a hardware bit too on top of that as well, but just overall in general. So let's let's go break down two of these things just overall. Number one, if you guys have been seeing, we've been seeing a lot of these leaks when it comes to God of War these past few weeks. We've been seeing merchandise, for officially licensed merchandise that actually had the September 30th date. We also had a lot of that actually on the actual PlayStation Store itself with a very nifty right in between date, which was technically a quote unquote placeholder, but there is a very peculiar reason why it was right in the middle of other various games that are already announced and should be already released. I think it was between Forspoken and Final Fantasy 16, and that's it's basically on a per release schedule. It's hard to explain, but basically imagine you have a catalog, and they usually will go say movies, and you're okay, Jurassic World's coming out next week, cool. Okay, we have Avatar coming out later on this year, cool. And then we have an unreleased movie, but for some odd reason on these movie lists, they're in between these two specific movies and dates. And well, sometimes in these videos, that happens, and so if I don't see at least a bless you in the comment, I'm probably gonna cry. But anyway, they at least made my next little moment a little bit more climactic. Sometimes, a lot of the times whenever you're making YouTube videos, that's probably where you have the really awkward sneeze, you have the really bad joke right after, and at that point you should probably be like, let's just be done. Let's just restart up the recording itself. But anyway, we do it raw on this channel. Anyway, so when it comes to all this, there's a big reason of why these dates are kind of in the middle. So when it comes to that stuff, that's what we saw with God of War, and that's why a lot of people are speculating that either it was still confirmed on that September date, September 30th, which was the OG original date, or at least in between. We also did go into the official sources too as well, from people working on the game and in control of these release dates and know how the game is working and flowing and when it'll be released, have also once again stood by that the 2022 release date is still consistent, and it's still a date that we want to be on the lookout for. So, everything about this in terms of rumors and little bits and pieces of information is still looking consistent, where it does seem like the November date is now like the next new postponed one, because there never was an official date. A lot of them were more like pushing towards September 30th. So in regards to the actual Bloomberg article itself by Jason stating, Sony's PlayStation new God of War video game planned for November. So the highly anticipated PlayStation game, God of War Ragnarok, is now planned for release this November. This is according to 3 people familiar with the game's development, despite reports that this week has slipped to 2023. Publisher Sony Group Corp is expected to announce the release date later this month, 2 of the people said. So these are more like, think employee workers and people just in charge with the potential leaks and everything else tied into it, which is still at the end of the day, like let's say you're literally working on the game. Let's say you're making the music. Let's say you're making the animations, doing the play testing, whatever it is. You probably could have a chance to leak it and have a good idea of when, where, and how it'll be being released. So this is basically for the God of War Ragnarok, the latest entry in the long-running series and the direct sequel of 2018's God of War, was announced in 2020 for PlayStation consoles. Sony has delayed the game several times since then, both publicly and internally, as its developers deal with the pandemic and other production challenges. Earlier this year, it was planned for September, but it was recently bumped to November. A spokesperson for Sony didn't really respond to a request for comment. So as of right this second, we still don't have the official, 100%, no matter what, without a doubt, release date. So I just want to preemptively mention that. Right now, it's just looking good. It's feeling good. It's probably going to happen. But the one big issue with this is that, once again, this is only just from internal leaks and speculation. Now, it would make sense, though, from all the other things we've been seeing, as I mentioned, from in terms of, the API for PlayStations, the websites, the official licensings, and as well, we did usually see a proper, pure state of play right before a game comes out. So that kind of ties back to Horizon Forbidden West, where we actually had a pure 100% state of play focus entirely on Horizon. And we never actually had God of War announced and talked about in this last state of play, so it could also be very well included in its own unique individual state of play. So this is looking and feeling pretty good. The leaks are kind of coming out even more and more and more, and while there is always that chance for a 2023 release date, it's looking pretty cool. So the new game is expected to be a big hit, and one of Sony's key pieces of software as it works through hardware challenges. The Japanese video game publisher and manufacturer has been unable to make enough PlayStation 5 consoles to keep up with demand, costing it market share. God of War Ragnarok will be available both on the new console, as you guys probably know, which has sold 117 million units, and also the first, proper good game too as well, that has been sold for 20 million copies. Huge game. As well, on top of that, too, I have the PS5 as well, and probably in the future also probably going to come to PC as well on top of that. So you want to what a lot of people were kind of assuming this game was be coming out in 2023, but now a lot of leakers and people talking with the actual people working on it are saying that nope, it's still going over here. It's still on track for November, and we'll have to go and see. So these are kind of somewhat reputable leakers too as well. We're also seeing this over on Bloomberg itself and other somewhat mostly reputable websites. So it does look good, and it does look consistent. Now, not 100% obviously, but it is looking pretty good. And now a little bit more of a kind of speculation side too, because I love Final Fantasy, and I love the remake itself. There is actually a tweet actually came on over here, and they're kind of promoting out the brand new June 16th release date for the Final Fantasy game. And this was in regards to another 10-minute conference/live stream from the official Final Fantasy VII Remake Twitter, which is even more intriguing. And this is also their 25th year of celebrating Final Fantasy. So interesting. You're actually able to go co-stream the broadcast and share your reactions to as well. And they even go throw in the please be excited. So another part two of this is why we're seeing these leaks and rumors and hopefully release dates and everything else is that the remake team itself tweeted this out. That's very, very intriguing to say the least. Very, very intriguing. And as well, we did not see any Final Fantasy VII Remake news, but we did see Final Fantasy 16 news in the last state of play. So it almost maybe makes sense to have a separate announcement. I'd almost want to say 7 might be slightly bigger or more anticipated as of right this second. I could be always wrong on that too. But this is another kind of big thing and big news where we're seeing huge leaks and new use games coming. And while, at least for both of these, the God of War has a lot more merit to its speculation than the Final Fantasy VII one does, this actually might mean that we finally might have release dates and a lot more progress made for all these really huge and big game consoles. So, in games on the console. So, all around, kind of give me your thoughts. A little bit of a more filler video, but this is kind of cool news either way. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway, Amazon links down below for the PS5 digital console controller, Twitter and Twitch room down below, the Webull and Coinbase down below. We have the Target links down below. Just a bunch of cool stuff down below. Make sure you guys sign up for the Amazon PS5 invitation too as well. I'll link down below, and let me know what you guys think.